and welcome to Just Onside. This is Monday. I've had, I think, 48 hours to try and recover. I still don't think I've recovered, but Lewis, how are you, sir?
No need for me to recover, mate. I've been just fine. But actually, I've had a lot of traveling in the last week or so. A lot of trips, a lot of transitions with moving cities. Let's say a lot of driving to work, school for my daughter now. So there's a lot of driving, apartment hunting, furniture hunting. There's a lot to it. So I am running on fumes, actually, physically speaking, but nothing like a 5-0 drubbing, just to give you a little bit of a pep in your step. Unfortunately, it came at my friend's demise. But anyway, I'm doing well. How are you? How about yourself?
Well, I was doing all right until 5:30 on Saturday, which was awful. Obviously, we're going to talk about that amongst other things, but obviously, it's a busy time for you, but your team is doing very well at this moment in time. So I presume that's, as you said, it's perking you up a little bit. So shall we look, rather than you sort of say, let's talk about the Arsenal, shall I just crack on and give you my thoughts on
Well,
what I thought?
yeah, you should do, I think, because I mean, if you remember after the game, I wouldn't normally do this. You know me very well, but I dropped you a little cheeky little message at full time, suggesting, like when I think I said something along the lines of "When are we shooting?" To which I could tell in some of your responses that you were fuming, as is often the way when Leeds lose. So there's probably another 23 more times this season you'll feel the way you did on Saturday afternoon. But you lead the way. I'm going to set us up. I mean, you were quite disappointed. I actually was quite surprised at your reaction, but of course you need the opportunity and the platform to share why it was that you were disappointed / angry. Give us your thoughts. 5-0 at the Emirates. What were your thoughts, Ayub? Do you think Leeds acquitted themselves well on the whole? Because it was a slightly unusual game, I'm sure you agree. But in the end, it's a 5-0 pasting away at one of the big boys. What were your thoughts, general reaction?
Well, I mean, you weren't the only one who sort of sent me a message. My dear friend Richard, who'll be watching, he's one of our avid viewers. Richie, my old mucker, he slipped it in as well. But my thoughts on the game, I mean, I expected a loss. I've got to be honest. I mean, you've got to be realistic. There's a huge golfing class, but there are ways to lose. And that's always the key point, isn't it? It's how you sort of compete. The result was a foregone conclusion. We were going to get beat. But my goodness me, I was furious because I think Strike had an opportunity, but apart from that, we hardly laid a glove. I praised Farke last against Everton, and I thought he did really well. He set the team up well. This was Farke as I expected, absolutely hopeless. I mean, how the hell can you set up a team to play out from the back when you haven't got the personnel? Plus, you're playing against a side which is absolutely merciless. I think what I think Leeds were caught off guard as well. I think in terms of the press, this was a press on another level. Now, bearing in mind, this is the first home game for the Arsenal. They're very fresh, but it was it was men against boys. We just could not compete. We were getting the ball, and the Arsenal press, it was onto us. But some of the players were looking up. You don't look up. You've got to know that they're going to be at you. So I think the setup was really wrong. I think Farke, he's done his due diligence. I would have presumed he'd done his due diligence. So he should have expected the press. So therefore, he should have had a game plan which countered that. So in a sense, you can't counter the press. So therefore, what do? Right, let's play it long. Let's play it out to the wide. I mean, the keeper was hopeless. This is supposed to be an upgrade. And Melia, Mike, these guys bleeding worse. I mean, a lot of the fans are sort of saying there's nothing really he could have done, but he was trying to play out. I mean, he sort of stuck his hands out occasionally. I mean, that shot from Saka. I mean, it was, it really looked like a guy who's won a prize to go in nets in a Premier League. But overall, it was awful. It was hopeless. I think we threw in the towel. I think the tactics were wrong. And also, if you bear in mind, we've made 9 signings. Out of the 9 signings, 3 of them started, which begs the question. The quality of recruitment has been absolutely woeful. So, I mean, I watched the whole game in its entirety. I mean, it was painful. But I had to watch it to really just assess where we're at, and we're miles off. Now, this is a team potentially that could win the league. So, yeah,
Yep.
there has to be some sort of perspective, but we never threw a punch. I mean, I said it to a number of people. Arsenal, after the game, could have played another 90 minutes because they did break sweat. So I was bitterly disappointed. I was frustrated with the setup, the selection, and I think Farke was exposed. And the fact that it took him about 60 minutes to again make changes is a reflection of this guy is not suited for the Premier League. He will be sacked. I think he'll probably be sacked in about 10 games because I can't see us getting another point.
Well, hang on. So steady on. I mean, you've lost to, as you said, a team that could potentially win the title. I mean, I saw a very different game. I'm going to let you finish off, but I mean, for 35 minutes up until that set piece when what was quite a smart header. Let's be very honest. I mean, it was an unusual header, but a very good one. To be fair, going backwards from Timber, and it's nestled in the bottom corner. But up until then, Ayub, there wasn't a huge deal. I mean, Arsenal were in the ascendancy, if you can call it that, but you never felt as though, a goal's coming in terms of that pressure. It was a set piece, which is obviously one of Arsenal's strengths. Did you not feel that for 35 minutes, you acquitted yourselves pretty well in terms of limiting Arsenal to just, I guess, dominant possession without really threatening much? That's the game I saw, at least for the first 35 minutes.
I mean, I saw it slightly differently. I think you're right in the sense that obviously we kept Arsenal out for about 30 minutes, but there was a certain inevitability. I just kept on thinking that it's only a matter of time before they score, and that was going to open the floodgates because, in a sense, we'd have to at least be a little bit more expansive. But what I saw was a team constantly under pressure. We seldom sort of strung 3 or 4 passes together. It looked panicky from everybody. Everybody was panicking. There was absolutely nobody who looked assured. Now, bearing in mind, there are a number of players who've played in the Premier League. Stroik, Nonto, Aronson, James, they've all played in the Premier League.
Yep.
But they all looked very jittery, very skittish. And it was all, for me, it was all just a matter of time that Arsenal scored. Now, if it weren't that set piece, it would have been something else. And that's where it's frustrating because I just thought that the tactics were all wrong. You just cannot and do not play out from the back against a team so adept at pressing and so good at pressing as well. I mean, I think the energy levels were different. The strength was different. Everything about the Arsenal was 3 or 4 notches higher than what Leeds could muster. So I saw it differently. We sort of worked hard, but really it was I wasn't impressed with what I was seeing, and I just knew that Arsenal were going to score, and they weren't just going to score one goal. That first goal was going to be the catalyst to score many, and that's exactly how it panned out.
Yeah, and look, you're absolutely right. Arsenal are generally they are a conservative team, Ayub. And to be fair, I've watched that first half from Arsenal many a time. Too safe, too conservative, slow at the back. Raya with the ball, everything stops, and the team pretty much keeps decent shape. I thought Leeds acquitted themselves very well for that first half an hour. They put themselves in a position to take the lead from the corner, even though it was relatively straight at Raya. Given the proximity, I think that's a fantastic save, actually, because he's got to change angles, right? The cross coming in, he's got to keep his eyes on the cross coming in. And then, like, I guess, again, if you're going to have one little thing to kind of fault him on, for sure, like try and pick a spot. But from there, he's hit the target with power. Good save from the goalkeeper, strong hand. If they score that, look, I'm with you. I think there's enough time for Arsenal to up the intensity and still recover potentially to win the game. I don't think anybody would suggest that the game was done and dust if Leeds scored the first goal. But it did feel as though once that first goal went in, especially given how hard Leeds had worked to keep them at arm's length, you mentioned about playing out from the back. You got away with one, didn't you, when the goalkeeper played one out. It got a bit tight. I think Zubimendi won the ball. Gyökeres obviously snatched at it, definitely had time. If he just took one touch, he's scoring probably 9 times out of 10 there. And then obviously the second goal as well, lost from a transition. You tackle into an area, you don't get time against this Arsenal team. Rice nicks in Zubimendi to Timber to Saka. And to your point, I'm with you. I think the goalkeeper could have done a little better. One thing I do like about Saka in those instances is he will shoot left foot, right foot, have a go. And quite often, if you shoot from that angle, you'll get it on target. Good things will happen. So I think you're right. The floodgates did open. Arsenal are a tough team to create opportunities against, especially when they set themselves up defensively. Once they go a goal up or 2 goals up, now they've had some situations last year where a goal wasn't enough because 1-0 is never enough. I think even if Leeds kept it 1-0, they'd have had some moments maybe in the last 10 minutes. But the moment Arsenal maybe go to 2-3, they knock the stuffing out of you. That second half must have been very depressing for a Leeds fan because they showed nothing. It was just Arsenal knocking it around. Plenty of depth on the bench, which they had to use due to some unfortunate injuries. But yeah, Arsenal in the end, Ayub, I think won in second gear, a couple of set pieces, as is often their trait. I think from Leeds' perspective, I think you've been a bit harsh, to be honest. I think it's a drubbing. I think you saw maybe on Friday there's another team that's perhaps in worse condition, let's say, than Leeds. I think West Ham have got real issues, especially given that I don't think they're a good club home or away right now, whereas I think still at Ellen Road, I think you could still create some sort of fortress. So, yeah, I think Leeds, look, all the promoted teams have won a game of football this season. That's 2 game weeks in. I think Leeds, I wouldn't judge them too much, and that Arsenal can do that. Once they start to get that kind of groove, they're a very hard nut to crack on there, You've in terms of that defensive shape. You've got Rice and Zubimendi arguably protecting not probably, the best centre-back pairing in the league, arguably in Europe. So I think it's one of those, you put it to bed. I don't think Arsenal, I don't want to say they didn't deserve 5-0, but the first 35 minutes for me was a non-event. I mean, Strike, if he scores that, then Leeds are probably really sitting in and trying to make it difficult. So who knows, it becomes a different game. But to your point, at this level, the game is about percentages. I thought Arsenal deservedly winners, got a few debutant off the mark with Gyökeres with a couple of goals, a couple of big injuries, but listen, it's par for the course. You got to deal with it and get on with it. From a Leeds perspective, your final thoughts from your side? I think it'd been a bit harsh. I think it's Arsenal. It's Arsenal away. It's not Arsenal at home. I think, to be fair, Arsenal at home will be a difficult game as well, obviously. But I think 3 points for the first 2 games, you kick on and you go forward from there.
The reason why I think it's not just me as well. I think there's a number of fans who are disappointed. Obviously the performance. I think the performance or the attitude, the application. I think what sort of bothers us as Leeds fans is I think the recruitment's been very average, very, very average. And as I said, I mean, I alluded to it where I said we've made 9 signings, and of the 9 signings, only 3 started. Now that was a championship team that was out there against one of the best teams, if not the best team in the league at this moment in time. So there's lots of frustration. I think it's more than just the game. I think the game in itself, I mean, you could probably turn around and sort of say, yeah, we battled, considering we were so inferior. To keep an Arsenal side for about 30 minutes is probably some sort of achievement. Yeah. But as I said, I mean, there was a certain inevitability about it. Well, I knew that Arsenal were going to score. I hoped it wasn't going to be from a set piece, because that's the one thing that we've tried to do in terms of the recruitment, that we've tried to get physical players. But we sort of, I suppose, I mean, it was, and the worst thing was, it was probably the shortest player for Arsenal who'd scored. So
yeah. I mean, they're a damn good team on set pieces. It is what it is. I mean, you've got to say, I mean, it's no fluke that they are a mile ahead when it comes to set pieces and their proficiency from set pieces. Something clearly, obviously, that they've worked on. I think they do get a little bit of negative criticism, or let's say, in terms of their kind of focus on those set pieces. And there's some truth to that. If you're always thinking, yeah, set pieces, we can find something. It's a good fillip to have. It's a good something to have in your armory. But you've got to be careful. You've got to make sure that you've got enough about you in terms of to be able to win from open play. Because set pieces is still a percentage play. Now they've started to shift those percentages in their favour, and they're a big team. They've got some big players out in Havertz, but you think about Gyökeres, Timber's short as he is, still got a decent spring, Ayub. But now they've obviously got Calafiori, so they've already scored now 2 games. I think that's 3 set pieces that they've caused issues with, and probably could have even scored more. So it looks like their set piece proficiencies, as much as teams are trying to prepare for it and what have you, is still pretty damn good in terms of being able to score from these situations. So yeah, look, Arsenal, good win for them. 2 clean sheets now, probably 1 undeserved if you ask me at Old Trafford, but that one was pretty solid. But in terms of Leeds, I think let's go from there. Who are you playing next? 3rd game next weekend?
Newcastle.
Oh, we'll play later on tonight, so that
Yeah,
should be
I mean
interesting.
that. I mean that's going to be a key game because I mean you talked about Ellen Road being a fortress. Now I think it's difficult because I think if you play against good sides, it doesn't matter if they're playing at Ellen Road. I mean we've got, I still say, a very mediocre coach. And if we've not added to what we've got, because we have got a very average and ordinary side for the Premier League, and that really was borne out against the Arsenal. Now, again, you have to have that caveat that
Yeah.
Arsenal are one of the very best sides, but the gulf was enormous. I mean, I've got to be honest. I mean, I think the players, probably confidence-wise, it must have taken a pounding because I think some of them must have been thinking, "Oh, hang on, there is a huge difference."
Yeah.
Whilst they're playing in the Premier League, there is a huge difference in terms of ability and quality, and not just the quality, strength-wise as well. Because I think I can't think of any Leeds player that physically stood up toe to toe with any of the Arsenal players, because I think physically they look quite meek.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think Arsenal, as you know, Ayub, they have been set up on their strength, their physicality. They do love a scrap. Gabriel, for me, is as good a defender as they come. He's really honed himself into a really good defender. But him, Saliba, Rice, Zubimendi, Calafiori, they love a bit of a scrap. They don't mind. Gyökeres will put it about up front. So
Mm.
they're a big team. And I think I'm with you. I think there will have been a bit of a rude awakening for some of those Leeds players that it's not just a golfing class, but it's a golfing abilities, relentlessness, sheer
Mm.
work ethic. You don't, I mean, they nicked the ball off Nuaneri for the second goal, thinking, oh, transition opportunity. Right, straight away, hunts it
Yeah.
down, bang, done, one pass, two pass. And I always feel as though some of the, and I hope you don't mind me saying this, but some of the lower league teams, the lower table teams, will always find that to be the most difficult situation. The one where you nick the ball, you think you're in a transition moment, attacking players start to move forward, let's say in terms of some sort of forward momentum, and you have the ball nicked off you. I think the big teams, that's how they're going to break a lot of these kind of middling teams down. Those kind of little transitional moments where you're trying to commit men forward, bang, one pass, two pass, one pass through the side, and your wingers through on goal. So, yeah, I think, look, a bit of a rude awakening. It won't be the last time Arsenal probably do that to one of the promoted teams this season. So I wouldn't give them too much flack. But yeah, it puts a little bit of pressure now, doesn't it? You on the next games, you want to get back on the horse and get some points and keep some semblance of momentum going.
Mm.
But yeah, let's see what the rest of the week brings.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's the focus now on that game. I mean, it's amplified, so really it will be. And I think the pressure's on Falk already. It's very early days, but I think the pressure will be on because certainly from the fans, we know that this guy's got serious limitations, and Saturday exposed again his limitations. Right, let's talk about a team that had a shocker last season. But my goodness me, these first two games, they've been absolutely outstanding. Now, our normal sort of resident spud, Moggy, he's been in the doldrums following this club for a number of years. Obviously, they won they won a trophy last season, so obviously that perked him up. But Thomas Frank has worked his magic on Spurs. They were outstanding against a team that I'm quite sort of surprised and disappointed with. I put City as potential winners of the
You
league
jinxed
after
them. You
watching
jinxed
them.
them. You
I
jinxed them.
did, yeah. I mean, I think they'll do well to finish top four. But what are your thoughts on that game? I thought Spurs were magnificent.
There were subtle differences, Ayub, in terms of the Spurs that played Man City on Saturday. It was, wasn't it? Saturday lunchtime in the UK,
Yeah.
Saturday 3:30 over here. Compared to the team that beat City, I think it was last year, Ange Postecoglou, I think when they won 4-0 at the Etihad. That was probably one of Ange's best results. Yes, of course, the European Cup in terms of the Europa League, of course, but in terms of performance, that one really stood out, didn't it? In terms of 4-0 at
Mm.
Etihad. But this one, you use the word outstanding, Ayub. It is the word I was thinking about. Watch that game intently, all 90 minutes, in amongst all the chaos over here, trying to find stuff to buy and all the rest of it. But it was a fantastic performance, really classy, really controlled. In previous times, Spurs have gone there and won. I mean, you saw the statistics. No team has given Pep more problems than Spurs. And previously, you thought, yeah, but City have always scored against them or had opportunities and made big comebacks and all the rest of it. Spurs have always looked a little what's the word, like a little bit of a gambling type of mentality where you think, oh, are they going to
Mm,
concede? Are they going to
mm,
score? They're good for a goal, but they're good to concede a goal as well. This was something different. There was a
mm,
resilience, there was a steeliness. It was your typical kind of Champions League away performance, classy, controlled, dynamic in terms of their movement. I thought they were sharper, they were quicker. Some of their patterns were beautiful. I thought very repeatable. If you follow, I mean, I don't. That wasn't a fluke. That wasn't 11 players just somehow being on song. To your point, Thomas Frank has clearly got them playing a certain type of way. They didn't look vulnerable at the back. Yes, City had a decent first 15-20, but that's par for the course at the Etihad in the first 15-20 minutes. You've got to see that period out. They were just really good, really classy. I really enjoyed watching them. When I watch Spurs or any club for that matter, and they achieve a big result, you're always thinking, okay, can they? Is that repeatable? Is that a fluke? Was that where they, kind of hanging on and then get a set piece goal or something? A bit like Leeds on Saturday. If they'd scored that first goal from a set piece, I'm not necessarily thinking, oh, that's the perfect approach. No, it wasn't as though they'd created anything up to that point. But Spurs grew into the game, always looked a bit of a threat on the counter anyway. There was a few gaps, a few offside traps that they nearly sprung early. They've now got this wonderful mix in terms of getting a tune out of Richarlison up front, who's still scrapping away, but getting a tune out of him.
mm,
But Kudus looks lively. He's obviously a very
mm,
good player for West Ham, especially away from home when spaces are there. He's such a live wire in terms of his ability. Brennan Johnson, always good for a goal, kept himself. Obviously took that first goal well. I think it was Rico Lewis trying to clear it. I thought that was poor technically, should have gone with his other foot. But Spurs well deserved the win, fully merited. I thought they played some real nice stuff for you in terms of it wasn't a smash and grab. It wasn't like 1-0 hanging on for dear life and then getting a
mm,
second. Again, to your point about the pressing, I mean, technically that second goal is about as disastrous as it's going to get. One technical flaw which I have an issue with sometimes even with Arsenal, Ayub, and you saw it in complete transparency with that second goal is I've said it before, I'll say it again. When a goalkeeper gets a ball, he has to be in motion. So he cannot just stop with the ball like James Trafford did. You can find a pass, but he can't stop and simply just be static the way he was just before he issued that pass into what was just absolute danger. The reason is because the moment you just stop with the ball at your feet, everything else stops in terms of the other team being able to slowly kind of get their angles just right and all the rest of it. I'm saying you've either got to move it to your right, lump it long, just stay in motion. Either the ball or the body's got to be in motion. The moment he stopped with the ball at his feet, just simply like a statue, I knew they were in trouble. Only bad things happened. You saw that with Leeds, you with the Leeds goalkeeper on
mm.
Saturday. And I'm like, if it's got to go long, just go long. It is what it is.
Yeah.
So he had a bit of a nightmare, didn't he, Ayub? I think there are some rumours about Donnarumma. I don't know if that's going to get done. It was a bit of a question mark, him being bought from Burnley, obviously being bought back to Man City. But
Mm,
I thought he had a very shaky, could have been sent off,
yeah.
got away with a handball. You could tell he was a bit nervous. I'm going to cut him some slack. It's a home debut back at his club. But he was really poor, I thought, in terms of just looking a bit of a nervous wreck, a bit similar to the United goalkeeper yesterday. But from a Spurs perspective, Ayub, fantastic performance. I think more so than the result, it's more the performance because that's something that
Mm,
can translate to other games. It's not a case of, well, we always beat Man City because they often do. But the performance that they put together in terms of the dynamism in some of the running, I think there was a period in the first half where Salah nearly broke the offside
mm,
trap, and they were smart in how they were trying to beat Man City. And I do think if you can get City on the halfway line and get vertical runners, you often see them being sprung in behind enough times. From a City perspective, are you disappointing? Very interesting. I mean, Pep, to his credit, didn't make any excuses. There were some talk reporters pitching questions to him about whether or not it's early in the season, so you're a bit rusty. He had none of it. He said, "No, we looked fine against Wolves." He was having none of it, so he gave credit where it's due. It is disappointing because they looked a very pale imitation of their previous past
mm,
selves. That's the one thing. It was as though it was a bit like Samson having all his hair chopped up. They were devoid of any
mm,
real strength. Tottenham has, in a sense, kind of emasculated them to some extent. You felt like Tottenham were the dominant team for large parts
mm,
of it. Palhinha, fantastic signing. Ayub, I'm sure you'll agree, was immense for Fulham. Didn't quite pan out at Bayern Munich, but he's a great addition for
mm,
Spurs. Got the second goal, but I just think they could have a really good season. I know it's one result. But this coach, I also liked his energy on the sideline. Now, normally at Brentford, he's similar, but I really liked his poise, his energy on the sideline, giving instructions, not in a panicky way, but just really kind of had conviction in his ideas. But yeah, a wonderful, wonderful result. And I think if I was a Spurs fan, and I'll say this once as an Arsenal fan, if they had landed Eze, he would suit Spurs so well because Spurs really insist in terms of this playing style of playing in spaces. And Eze, there's not many better in the league, in my opinion,
Mm,
in spaces, driving through those final thirds or in between that second third and the final third. I think he would have been an unbelievable signing.
mm.
I think for Arsenal, he'll see that the spaces tend to dry up because Arsenal are so conservative in some of their play. I think you'll start to see that when he starts to play for Arsenal. But incredible result. I think they can really go some places. If that's two on the bounce, 3-0 and 2-0 respectively away, they'll want to really kick on now and start laying a marker and keep themselves at the top end of the table. Fantastic result for me, result of the season so far.
You've covered it perfectly. I mean, there's nothing really to add. I mean, I was traveling to work with Shax this morning, and he was absolutely raving about Saar. And it was. I've got to be honest. I mean, I didn't see the game, so I've had to watch the highlights. And he was outstanding. And then I've checked up on Saar, and he's been at Spurs for uh, 4 years, I think 4 or 5 years. And he's played about 80 odd games. So it's not somebody who obviously has just sort of broken through at Spurs. But the one thing, and I followed Thomas Frank, especially because of his championship days with Brentford, that I've always been impressed with Thomas Frank as a manager. I mean, I sort of talked about, you know, when Spurs were looking for a new guy, I absolutely was convinced that Frank would be a perfect fit because he is one of these managers that I think the uh, players love him, but he's a great tactician as well. So it's a perfect combination. It's not just a case. I mean, Keegan always was a manager that players love, but I don't think he was a great tactician. I think Frank is a fusion of both. And I think this is where the difference is. I think he is the perfect coach for Spurs. He served his time. He's been in the Premier League a long, long time. So he knows this league. He's not somebody that's going to be overawed. I think he feels that he deserves to have this
Yeah,
opportunity.
he's earned it.
He's a Yeah, absolutely. So he's a great, great coach. The players will buy into his philosophy, and it was ably demonstrated by the work ethic. And Saar was magnificent. And I did. I mean, Shaq said he was outstanding. I've watched the highlights, and he was, as well as kudos. I think the whole team put in a shift and a half. There was enough quality. And you're absolutely right about Eze. I think the perfect fit for Eze would have probably been Spurs
Yeah,
rather than the Arsenal. But I think he's a boyhood Arsenal fan. So maybe I don't know what's happened, but maybe as soon as Arsenal came calling, he's probably thought, all right, this is the team I want to be a part of. Because I think he was there as a kid. I mean,
you
if
said,
reports are
yeah, absolutely. He was let go. You said if Arsenal come calling, if the rumors are to be believed, it was him who was doing the calling because supposedly he did put a phone call in to Mikel Arteta to try and seal a move. I don't think it's a case of uh, rejecting Spurs. It is, to your point, history with Arsenal. I think there's
Hmm,
even some stories, a bit of romanticism, but his mother, when he was let go at Arsenal, said a prayer that this will, hopefully make you stronger. And I think there is some emotional tie. You see him.
yeah,
There's a bit of substance to the lad. You
yeah,
can see that.
hmm,
I think when you get a chance to go back to your boyhood club and they're in for you, then you're always going to look to go. But yeah, fantastic result from Spurs. What do you think, Ayub? Is that sustainable? Has that changed your kind of thoughts in terms of where you think Spurs could finish this season? Because it was an unbelievable performance. And I think just very quickly, if they can keep those two centre backs fit, a player that you know quite well, Jed Spence, had a really good game. I think he's starting to
yeah,
find his feet now in the Premier League.
yeah.
It takes some young players a little bit of time not to get ahead of themselves. He's had a rough start in the Premier League, I think one would agree. But he had a great game, I thought, playing as left back, still
Yeah.
bombing on the wrong side. Porro's had another season under his belt. He looks fantastic,
Hmm.
wonderful right foot. If they can keep those two centre backs fit, what do you think is the kind of ceiling in terms of their ambitions this season?
Top four without a shadow of a doubt. Without a shadow of a doubt. But you're right about key personnel staying fit. I think the centre backs are absolutely crucial. I think if either one of them gets injured, it's going to have a catastrophic effect. It will impact them. But you talked about Spence. Now Spence was a player that thought wasn't good enough for the championship,
He's at
but he's
his.
been outstanding.
I think you would agree. The lad has had some issues. I mean, he had issues. Obviously, Conte. Now, Conte was trying to prove a point at the time as well to the board. I didn't ask for this guy, so he kept bringing him on the 89th, 90th minute just to kind of embarrass the lad. I felt at times, and then obviously he had a situation with Farke at Leeds. So I think the player probably has to take some responsibility as well, Ayub. That's a couple of situations. But fantastic win, fantastic performance. If they can keep those two centre backs, who are, I mean, maybe it is a huge, let's say, a smart play to make Romero captain, make him think a bit more responsibly because he has been rash in a number of ways. But he's a good
Yeah.
defender. I'm not going to say he's a great defender, but he's a good defender. And Van der Ven, his stock continues to rise. I think they've got the perfect setup. If they had landed Eze, I really think they would have been, if not the best team to watch. I mean, Liverpool arguably will probably score the most amount of goals, I think, but they would have been an amazing team to watch in terms of flying forward. Can you imagine Kudus, Eze, Richarlison, and some of those fullbacks, especially with Porro's technical ability? Just switching gears a little bit quickly, just before we quickly finish, big game tonight, Newcastle against Liverpool. A bit of a subplot in the background as well with Alexander Isak. So no doubt tensions will be running high amongst the St. James's faithful. How do you see the game? How do you see it panning out? Second game of the season. Should be a cracker, shouldn't it?
I can't wait. I can't wait. It's 5:10 at the moment. I just can't wait for it to be 8 o'clock so I can watch the game. I'm really excited. I think, there is a subplot, which obviously adds a lot more spice to the game. But I think it's going to be high scoring. I think both teams sort of play on the front foot. Liverpool, that's the only way they can play. So Liverpool will score plenty. And I think the way that they've got frailties at the back, they'll probably concede a couple of goals. But I'm expecting a Liverpool win. It will be exciting. And I'm sort of expecting it's going to be quite a comfortable win. So I'm sort of predicting maybe 4-2 again. Potentially 5-2.
5-2. Yeah, I mean, there is some talk that Alexis McAllister won't be playing due to his partner about to give birth. I mean, there is some talk that these players need to be family planning a little bit better. But he's going to miss the game, apparently. But I mean, look, Liverpool, fantastic team to watch, aren't they? They went on their best. It wasn't their best performance at home to Bournemouth, and they still scored 4 goals. Salah had a quiet game, still managed to find a goal in that game. I think it'll be a crack. If you remember the last St. James's game last year, I think it was 3-3 with a last-minute equaliser from Shaw. But it should be a fantastic game. You're right. It's amongst the lights. It's Monday Night Football, 11 p.m. over here. We should be watching it, but it should be a wonderful game. I'm not gonna. It's a difficult one to predict because there's so many things happening. Newcastle, obviously. Will they struggle to score goals without Isak? That's a question mark. They've really had a big struggle, haven't they, in terms of getting another striker on board. You'll remember they've lost, obviously, Callum Wilson as well on a free transfer. So very interesting to see how it pans out. I think Liverpool might just have a bit too much. And I think you might see a real good clinical Liverpool attacking performance today because I think there will be spaces. And I think if they can take some of that emotion, let's say, out of the game, which the fans will be really ratcheting up, I think Liverpool may well just be able to eke out a victory. But fantastic start to the season. Ayub, I'll give you the final thoughts. Obviously, you're back in the big time, so it must be nice to be part of the big time, although difficult result on Saturday. How do you see the quick lay of the land so far? Anything that's caught your eye?
It's going to be a very exciting season. I mean, we talked about it last season, that it was quite a dull season in the sense that we sort of knew what was going to happen. Liverpool had won the league weeks before the end of the season, and we knew who were going to go down. I think this season it's going to be dramatic because I think there's going to be a number of teams in the relegation mix. I think in terms of the top 4, there's going to be a few sides probably knocking on the door. I think Spurs are certainly going to knock on the door. Man United have disappointed me because I think I expected better, but I think they will get better. So far, the juices are flowing. I'm obviously delighted that we are in this league, which is the best league in the world. But I've started to panic already.
Yeah. I'm sure.
It's after game 2.
It's after game week 2, yeah. I mean, look, this is what you sign up for, isn't it? To your point, in the Championship, Leeds are expected to win a lot of games. In the Premiership, unfortunately, for the time being, they're expected to lose a lot of games. And with you, there's a few interesting subplots already. Obviously, West Ham struggling. Graham Potter, those West Ham fans have never quite taken to him. Brentford picked up a huge win at home to Villa. I thought they're a team that we both tipped, or at least I've tipped, to go down this year. I've not seen anything to change my mind, so let's just see how that pans out. Burnley, obviously, doing okay. So I think it'll be interesting to see how it all pans out. And I'm with you. I think we are headed for an interesting season. I think there's still some weaknesses in amongst some of the big boys as well. So there's nothing that says Spurs couldn't get themselves in amongst the big boys. Newcastle look a step short in terms of adding personnel and squad depth. But it wouldn't surprise me if you did see maybe a Chelsea take another step. Good win for them on Friday. A Spurs 2 wins on the bounce. Let's see how it all pans out. Game week 2, exciting times heading into game week 3. Newcastle, I am willing to make a prediction. I'm going to go Liverpool 3-1. Should be a fantastic game. Salah to show us why he won PFA Player of the Year last week when he picked up his honours. I'll let you wrap up, Ayub. Commiserations on the weekend, Saturday, anyway.
The final blow, the final nail in the coffin. Right, excellent as always. Enjoyable, even though it's painful talking about Leeds. But we're in the best show in town, so at least we're talking about Premier League and Leeds United. All right, then. I hope you enjoyed the show. We'll be back in a few days' time, either a preview or probably a review. But we'll see you soon. Enjoy yourself. It's a beautiful day here in Blackburn. Not sure what it's like where you are, but enjoy it. See you soon. Ta-da for now.